Welcome, friends. We are your hosts, Sandy and Wade, baby best friends turned husband and wife and business partners.
This podcast is for the dreamers, the movers and shakers, and those who seek to attract their dream life.
Strap in. Getting magnetic in 3, 2, 1.
Like attracts like. If you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand.
You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
This moment in time, this is your time to rise.
You guys, we're coming up on the first 90 days of the year being completed, the end of the first quarter. That is wild.
Flew by.
And with that said, I have to share this because of how valuable it is. I think some of you know, but for those of you that don't, or those of you that aren't utilizing it, Sandy and I created the 90-day cycle to new habits journal with a friend and a partner. And I want to empower. It's not a journal. It's not just something like you write in and it's nice to have. This is a blueprint for building your network marketing business. It's specific to entrepreneurs, to network marketers, and it's going to build daily habits. And it literally, it's a game changer. So if you're not where you want to be, or basically if you want to make the next 90 days the best 90 days or improve or grow somewhat in your business, you got to check out the journal. We'll drop the link in the show notes and you can use code GettingMagnetic15 for 15% off. Now, with that said, I want to transition into the legend of the week. Let's read off one of the reviews of the week, 5-star rating titled How to Be a Gift by A Lead Belly. Interesting. One of the most powerful gifts we have is our ability to learn and change. This couple is a beautiful example of learning and growing together into more than you could be alone, but in a way that's very useful for every entrepreneur in any circumstance. You guys, I love that you are both grasping that gift with both hands and make it look good to learn and grow. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We receive that. We're grateful for you. We're grateful for all of you leaving these reviews. We're excited to announce the legends of the week. And A Lead Belly, if and when you're hearing this, message us on Getting Magnetic Instagram, and we're going to hook you up, with a little token of our appreciation. So with that said, let's get into today's episode.
All right. We've said this before, but if you haven't picked up on it, people do not come into your life by accident. Recently, Wade and I were at a launch party helping a new teammate in our network marketing business launch their business. And this man showed up late and he looked super uninterested, not making eye contact. I kind of felt uncomfortable. I'm can really tell he doesn't want to be here, all the things. And he was a friend of the girl whose business we were launching. And just to paint a picture of who this man is, he is probably 6'6".
Yeah, 6'5".
Black man, dreads, he has a presence about him. Okay. So after this launch party, he comes up to Wade and I and he's like, tell me your story. Want to get to know you, blah, 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 all these things. Okay. We've known him now for probably 4 months and you maybe have heard us mention him. If you follow us on Instagram, his name is Neil. This man is probably one of the most fascinating, intriguing men I've ever met.
Yeah.
And Wade and I are really good people readers. We know how to read people. We're very intuitive. We get gut feelings.
Feel their energy.
We both stared at each other after we met him. And I'm like, do you get him? And he's like, Wade's like, I was going to ask you, do you get him? I'm like, no, I don't get him. What are his intentions?
Yeah. I remember we talked at that party and literally after the event kind of was over, we were all just socializing and I started talking to him and yeah, like you said, how you can pick up on people and you kind of get a sense for them. I'm like, he is a complete mystery to me.
Yes.
Which makes him more intriguing. Right. And then you're like, wait, now I need to find out. And yeah, Sandy and I are going back and forth no, I don't get him either. And then that makes me okay, I got to hang out with this guy again and see what he's all about.
Yeah. So to even try and give you a bio on this man, I literally right now I'm trying to think how I would bio him. His bio would be 6 pages long, I feel because he just does so many things. He's so well connected. He knows so many people. He's done so many businesses. He's made such a big impact. He's just very well networked. And I don't know, he's just fascinating. So long story longer, after that initial meeting, Wade went to sushi with him the next week, had like a 3 or 4 hour meeting. Wade came home and was like speechless. He's like, I don't even know what to tell you how that was. And then like a few weeks later, so this was like November of 2021, he came over to our house and we all met. And I was literally like 48 hours away from my labor starting. So I was like 9.5 months pregnant, like so
we didn't know
pregnant.
that at the time.
No.
But yeah, we were like, we could have a baby in the next week.
But then we had another like 3-hour meeting with him. And like he came to our house with like 2 pages of printed out like ideas of what we could be doing. He's like, listen up, guys. I just have to say it. You guys are stars. I'm not a star. I like being behind the scenes. I don't like being out there. I don't like being in the limelight. You guys are stars. You're meant to be out there. Listen, you're doing some great things, but you could be doing way more. Basically, the message I got was we're playing small. And I was like, wow, I mean, I thought we were like kind of, I don't know, spreading our wings, but he kind of made us feel like there's more barely scratching the surface. Yeah. And he gave us all these ideas. And
also, side note is, get people around you that are like, you're a star. Like I tell Neil, I'm like, you can keep telling me that. And he knows me well enough now where like when he knows he wants me to pay attention or do something, you know, or get me in the zone. He's like, wait, you're a star. Let's go set your stardom. I'm like, yes, that's right. So get people in your camp, in your corner that like empower you, that lift you up, that empower your strengths and qualities.
So anyway, then obviously we had our daughter and we were just kind of in that mode for a few months. And recently in building our 90-day habits company and reflecting on the growth we want to have in other areas of our life, somehow Neil kind of like popped up. And I was like, you know what, for our next 90-day meeting next week with Haley and Nikki, let's invite Neil. And so we all met at the Montage in Laguna Beach. We invited him to we wanted to like consult with him and figure out, because he's just like, he's a life coach. Like if I haven't mentioned that, like he's basically like an incredible mentor. He's super well networked. He has a ton of experience. I feel like pretty much any problem you could have in your life, he could help you get through it through being super inquisitive, asking you a ton of questions, helping pull out of you what you maybe already know. But he's like a fascinating person. So anyway,
I think I just realized this title of this episode.
Oh, what is it?
Lessons from our coach.
Ooh.
And we'll give you some tangible takeaways on like life coaching questions, like exercises you can do at the end. But
yes.
For now, it's story time.
Yeah. Well, no, a big thing he brought up, and he's brought up in the multiple meetings we've had, is that there's 4 pillars in everything, like for your life. So maybe write this down. What are the 4 pillars? Health,
wealth, love, and happiness, which is funny because when I wanted to start a coaching business before Sandy and I partnered in our basically coach network marketing coaching business, I was thinking about like the pillars of life, and they were so similar. I remember it being like health, wealth, love, and something else. I forget. Anyways, so health, wealth, love, and happiness, right? That's the 4 that he says. And so it's kind of evaluating, where are you at? Maybe on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of those areas. And obviously life isn't always a 10 in every single thing. Like, and that's what he says too. He's like, you know, some people might have a 10 health. They might even have a 10 wealth, but their love is a 4 and their happiness is a 6. It's like, so it's evaluate where you're at on each and then be like, oh, wow, what would it take for my happiness to be an 8 or a 9 or a 10? What would it take for my wealth to be a 9? And you start to evaluate, where are my gaps? Where am I doing really well? And where are my gaps?
Well, and it's interesting, like just to dive into one, for example, like love, it's so much more than just like, do you have a partner? Like he would dive into this with me and he's like, okay, you know, you and Wade are happy, but it's so much more than that. It's what's your relationship like with your kids? What's your relationship? What's your sex life like? What's this? What's that? And I'm like, wow. I mean, that really starts opening a whole nother, like, yes, high level, like love my husband, super happy marriage, love category, check. But when you start digging into the love category of like, you know, loving yourself, loving your partner, loving your kids, what does that look like? What is your day to day? How do you love each other? Why do you love each other? Like, how do they need love? How do you need love? How are you communicating? How are you fulfilling each other's needs? Where are you dropping the ball? How could you be better? Like, I'm like, oh my God. And then I realized I'm like, wow, I thought I was like a 15 out of 10 on the love category. And then I kind of start thinking like, wow, there's actually a lot of room for improvement. Like just full transparency. We've had an episode on sex. We've talked about sex before, but like something I'm working through like in postpartum is like, how do I get to a place where like I want to have sex again. Like I'm just not mentally there. But that is a crucial part of like marriage and
of love and
all the things.
connection. And
So anyway, that's
you
just
know
like
those
a
days
tangent,
like
but
where, you know, you have sex and then the next day is just amazing. And so I always tease Sandy. I'm like, oh yeah, hopefully our parents aren't listening to this, but the next day is always amazing after, you know, you have sex. But anyways, side note.
yeah, side note. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to kind of share a little bit about this experience with him because you guys have heard me share before. Like I hired a coach last year, Kayla Kraft. She's amazing. And that was a big investment. I, you know, spent a lot of money to work with her one-on-one for 6 months. And with Neil, we've met him now probably like 5 or 6 or 7 times, like honestly, probably over 15 to 20 hours, like in person. And he's very like, he's all about adding value first. So full transparency, we have not like
written him a check yet.
We haven't paid him any money yet. He's just like life coaching us for free basically, but he's not like, I love his strategy because like he's adding so much value first that like we almost feel like indebted to him. Yeah. His strategy
is a huge like takeaway is like, where do you, in any relationship, right? Whether it's a business, a working relationship, or it's your marriage or a friendship, it's like, do you go in and seek to add value first before you ask for anything? Like go add value, go be so valuable that the other person is like, oh, I gotta be connected to this person, whether it's a business paying relationship, whether it's a love relationship, whatever it is, like, oh my, I need to be around them. I'll do whatever it takes. Like they've added so much value to me.
Yeah. So, okay. Something that he's taken us through so many activities, but something that he did the other day that was a really like deep exercise was he told me to get out a huge piece of paper and a pencil. Sure enough, I couldn't find a pencil in my entire house. So I already broke the rules. It's in pen. But done is better than perfect, right? We always say that. So I got out a huge piece of paper. It was actually the back of my vision board. And he had me write out, and Wade and I both did this. The left side of the big poster board was Sandy and the right side was Wade. And he said, start writing down things that you like. What do you like to do? Like how do you like spending your time? That is such a broad question. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like in my personal life and my business? He's like, literally everything. Like, I just want you to start listing out things. So we both have very expansive things that we like doing. I think the first one on mine was inspiring people. Do you remember what yours was?
That's a good question. No.
You definitely had it on yours at some point, but so we had things like inspiring people, dance.
I think mine was like playing with you and Cam. Yeah. Was my first one.
Dancing, singing, going on vacation, traveling, helping people believe in themselves, adding value, helping people get healthy.
Coaching, speaking.
Yeah. Being outdoors.
I wrote like CrossFit, exercise.
Yeah. We literally just wrote lists of like all the things that we like to do. And then we had to write all the things we don't like to do. And we don't like to focus our energy on like negative things, but Neil has really driven home. Like, I know you don't want like that, but like you need to recognize that so that you have clear boundaries of like what you don't want. And that's everything down to like unloading the dishwasher, like, you know, all the things that's
counting,
like, not my favorite things. Not my zone of genius. But then he had us reflect on 1 year from now.
Wait, no, before that, he had write what you like and what you don't like.
Yes.
Then he said, now write what you're good at and what you're bad at. So like, there's a difference, right? Like, he's like, I could like golf, but I'm not good at it. Like, so like that is an example. Or I could like something, speaking, like the idea of speaking, but I'm not good at, like something like that. So it's like, now we're going to start to match your strengths, things you're actually good at. And when he said that, he's like, things where you could be, you know, with work, like one of the best in the world, or a top 5% or top 1% in the world. Like, what are things you're really good at that are either innate to you, meaning natural? Like, are you naturally charismatic, or are you naturally, you know, or things you're trained in? Let's say you're really good at riding horses, for example. Like, is that something? So now start to write down your strengths and your weaknesses. And that was a hard one for me because especially Sandy, like she just touched on, we don't focus on negatives or weaknesses. We focus on the good, the strengths. So I'm like, I gotta write down my weaknesses. And he's like, Wade, I know you're going to draw blanks on your weaknesses, but you need to dig. What are you bad at? And he kept digging in. I'm like, okay. And I came up with a bunch of stuff. It took for sure reflection, but then he's like, let's start to, especially as we're in this coaching relationship, start to pair what are you good at with what you like? And let's leave out what you're bad at and what you don't like, but like, let's recognize where it is. So if you're bad at bookkeeping, you aren't going to be doing that. That's going to be delegate or something else, because if you're in that low vibration, you're not going to be the best you. So it's like, okay, I could really like this, but am I good at it? Because if I really like it, but I'm not good at it, I'm probably not going to create a business around it or be able to monetize that. But if I really like it and I'm really good at it, now we're talking. Now we're in a zone of genius. So that was a cool distinction too.
Yes, yes. So, and hearing you say that, my brain didn't even make any of those connections. Like so I'm like kind of having an epiphany right now. I'm like, wow, I want to go revisit the paper, because I didn't make that connection of like what you like and what you're good at. I know we did all that, but I didn't actually like fuse that in my brain of being like, oh, that's like if you did like a circle pie chart situation overlap of like, that's
exactly.
So, okay. So my brain,
Venn
I'm glad,
diagram.
yes. I'm glad you just said this, because I'm like literally connecting the dots like days later.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next thing he had us do was reflect, like, what does your life look 1 year from now? What about 5 years from now? What about 10 years from now? What about 25 years from now? That is so far away from now. I mean, not in the grand scheme of life, but like my brain typically thinks of what's happening in the next 6 months, year, 5 years. To think about what I'm trying to do the math, 33 plus 25, 58-year-old version of Sandy is going to be like I don't typically think about that. So,
you're 32.
Okay. 57.
57. Yeah.
So anyway, thinking like that. And then this question like really was something to think about of like, what do you want your tombstone to say? Like, and guys, I'm going to live to be at least 120. Mm-hmm. We both are, we promised each other.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of life to live. So to think of like, gosh, we're only like 25% way through our life. What will our tombstone say? Like, there's so much that just changes in a given year. Imagine what could change over the next few decades. So that was just really powerful to reflect on. And then, so he came over yesterday or 2 days ago, and we took out the piece of paper and we started digging into it. And he's like, okay, Sandy, we're going to start with you. Let's go through things that you like to do. And I mentioned to you guys, like I had on there, like singing, dancing, and he would like dig into them. He's like, okay, so what are you doing every day that's expressing those? How do you do that? I'm like, I guess I don't. And he's like, well, if you like doing it and you're good at it, like, why aren't you doing that? And he's like, you have so many things about you that like you could be expressing and showing, like, you know, like, especially on social media, like to the outside world. And so he's like, what if you like did something every day where you start dancing with Sandy? You just go live or do a story every day of like showing them behind the scenes of how goofy and fun you are. Like, show people that part of you. And I was like, well, who would want to like watch that or this or that? And like, we're brainstorming on it and we're like, wow, this is just like a fun, like daily dose of the behind the scenes of literally what we do every day anyway. But it's a part of me that like, I don't really let people see. And in terms of goals of how we continue to grow and flourish and expand, he's like, people don't buy your products. People buy you. So show people who you are. So it's funny because it's like, it seemed silly at first, but it's like, that's like a small, silly thing that seems kind of pointless, but that I feel like literally I just started doing it yesterday and did a hashtag dancing with Sandy and told people like, tag me when you're dancing in your kitchen. And this morning I literally already have like maybe a dozen people that have tagged like dancing with Sandy, of them dancing with their kids, all the things. And I'm like, wow, like people are seeking joy. And this was something that I was just like doing by myself in my kitchen. We always will dance in the kitchen. And it was just, I'm just giving you a silly example of like, what is something that you love to do that you could show to the outside world, inspire other people, and let people like that, pulling back the curtain of like letting people see like what's it like in the day-to-day life of you.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. Just, you know, it's when we did an episode on this a couple of weeks ago, it's kind of back to self-reflecting. It's just going inside and you realize all the answers are inside. Like great coaches help pull that out. They ask the right questions. They don't give you the answers. They ask the right questions and you have the right answers inside. And so it's been a really cool experience, and it's something we're still digesting. And it's something that seems maybe obvious on the surface, but like, let's all ask ourselves listening to this, do we actually do this? Do I actually write down and evaluate, what do I like doing and what am I good at? What do I not like doing? What am I bad at? Do I start to move much more towards what do I like doing? Do I do less of what I don't like doing? And I remember one thing for me is like, I really like speaking. It like fires me up. And I realized that is a sign, right? That's like, we're reading this book, Think Like a Monk. Your dharma is something that you're like naturally inclined to do, where you feel really good doing it. And it's also a way that you can serve the world. So in times that I've spoken, I always am energized, and I do get nervous about it, but it's like this good nervous energy. So he's like, okay, you like it and you're good at it. He's like, you're a good speaker. This is something like you got to do more. You got to start to put yourself out there. You got to start to do this. You got to do those things. Like that's a way you, Wade, can serve the world. And he would, beef me up, right? He'd be like, you're a star, like get your stardom out there. I'm like, yes, that's right, Neil. I'm a star.
I think
really
we need
cool.
to get Neil on here at some point so
Yeah,
people
for sure.
can like really understand.
They still won't understand.
They
it,
know,
but
unless
you'll
you
get a
meet him.
glimpse.
Yeah. But I
I
don't
love
know.
the Tombstone one though. I think that it's so interesting. Sandy was like, oh, gosh, I never think about that. I'm like, really? That's like a underlying, I'm always thinking about it.
I know you think about like the legacy, the 9-year-old version of you. What is your grandchild on your lap?
Don't undermine me. You
No,
can
I'm
let
not,
me share.
I'm not undermining you.
All right. What's your perception of my tombstone?
No,
ideas?
you always try and undermine me by saying, I think about this all the time. I can't believe you've never thought of it.
Wasn't undermining.
Okay.
People
keep
think
going.
differently.
We're on air. Let's stop fighting. I love you.
We're not fighting. I don't think that this is a fight at all. I think
It's a fight.
it was interesting when you
It's
said
a
you
fight.
don't think about that. I'm like, no. Do I write down what's going to be on my tombstone and write it? No. Is that a super helpful exercise? Yes. But like, I feel like I always have this underlying, why do I go to the gym? Why do I choose to eat healthy? Why do I choose to work right now instead of play? There's this underlying long-term mindset vision. Yes, legacy, but also like in the long run, what is this going to do for me? And it's also kind of like building your legacy. Like what is going to be on your tombstone? What is your character? And it's that constant like character building. Your character is going to be on your tombstone more probably than your accomplishments, but not to undermine that you don't think about that.
No, I'm a very literal person. So you say, like, I think about that stuff too. Why do I do the things? Because I want to build lasting legacy for future generations to come. I always say stuff like that. But his actual question of what is on your tombstone right now, live, if you had to say what's on your tombstone at age 120, you just died. What are like, I still don't even.
A star. High energy, made people feel really good around him, loving dad and husband, star. I got to get more detailed on it.
You're too much.
What's
so clearly
yours?
I'm still marinating on it. Like I literally
Magnetic.
Still need time to fully download.
Charming.
Okay. Fully download.
Handsome.
Okay.
Confident. I'm like
Into himself.
Yeah. Borderline. Confident and borderline. Yeah. Could be more humble.
You've gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's pretty much like, I'm just going to give you that
This
for
is
today's
a teaser.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you're going to get for today's
We'll have to get Neil
episode.
on.
But if you enjoyed this, send this to a friend. Like if you enjoyed this, tell us what your favorite part was. If you whip out a piece of paper and you start writing some of those things, maybe sit down with your roommate or your sibling or your parents or your spouse or a coworker and put your heads together and talk to each other. Like, gosh, what am I good at? What am I bad at? What do I like? What do I not like? Like, we want to hear from you. Like, what has this brought up for you? How has this helped expand your vision or grow your mindset or help you think outside of the box or outside of the things that normally you do? So let us know.
This was a great idea. Thanks for inspiring this episode.
Of course. I say we continue this on Freestyle Friday with a little bit more nuggets.
Let's do it.
See you guys Friday.
See you then.
Only those that can see the invisible can do the impossible.
So remember, you are magnetic.